Well, there's a trial going on right as we speak. 3 of the largest gold silver traders are being tried for rigging the silver market. Do you know we've been screaming about these exact traders for over 20 years to the regulators? These are the guys from JP Morgan. How many people have heard that JP Morgan's rigging the silver market? Pretty much everyone I go, it's like everybody knew except the regulators, or the regulators were running cover for them, which is 500 times worse. That means our free market system is probably worse than any other country, because in the shitty countries, they don't trust their system. In our country, we've been lied to and told, oh, we have great regulators. You can trust the U.S. markets. Have the regulators told you that you might lose all your money if JP Morgan goes down, or Bank of America goes down, or any of the 10 top, they call them too big to fail banks go down? They don't tell us that. Why don't they tell us that? Because it would remove the confidence in the American markets. Well, you shouldn't be confident. If it's a rigged market, you shouldn't be confident. You know how many people are going to be surprised when this whole system goes down? There's a lot. Has anybody heard of like the Great Reset? You hear a lot about that these days. Do you think anybody on the planet will have the kind of trust and reliability to implement their system? I have a great idea. Let's do this. We're not going to trust any of these guys, especially the people like Klaus Schwab or Janet Yellen or Jerome Powell or Joe Biden. Is anybody going to trust Joe Biden to put together a new global monetary system? Probably not. Or I wouldn't trust him to ride a tricycle, much less a bicycle. Silver's in everything these days, like everything. Flat screen TVs, solar panels, and it's in such small amounts, you know it's never coming back. You can't recycle solar panels when they only have 1 ounce of silver in it. You have to melt down every part of the solar panel, get everything else out of there. It would cost too much. So they leave it in landfills. And they leave it. And they leave it. And what happens to gold? It gets stacked in vaults. And it gets bigger and bigger. Right now, there's about 6 billion ounces of each. But silver is 1/90th the price of gold. If I was going to tell someone from the future, let's say 10 years from now, that they could buy 90 ounces of silver with just 1 ounce of gold, they would say I'm a lunatic and have me locked up. The other way around would probably be true, that you could buy 90 ounces of gold with 1 ounce of silver. Nobody needs gold. Gold is a store of value. My wife will tell you different, the gold jewelry thing, I get it. Gold is great. Silver, who needs a cell phone? Who needs a flat screen TV? Who needs a solar panel? Who needs an electric car for the future? The green energy thing, God bless Joe Biden and the Democrats, because if they get what they want, silver will be $1 million an ounce, because there's not enough silver to make that many green cars, solar panels. Elon Musk is not a dummy. And yet he doesn't say a word about silver ever. If silver price went to $1,000, his whole world would change. I think he's secretly stacking it up. Kind of like the Hunt brothers did. Remember that in 1980, the Hunt brothers? That was 110 million ounces that they stacked up. JP Morgan recently acquired 1.2 billion ounces, and then they got busted, kind of. And now that 1.2 billion ounces is going to somebody else. I think it's going to Warren Buffett. And I think Warren Buffett's going to give it back to the American people. I know a lot of people are like, no, wait, Bix, it can't be. All you got to do is read his father's speech on the floor of Congress in 1946 about the necessity of gold money in the United States of America. Buffett loved his father. And anybody who listens to Buffett talk about gold especially, he'll say, it's useless. You dig it out of the ground and then you bury it in the ground in a safe. That doesn't make any sense. Read his father's speech, and knowing how much Buffett idolized his father, he's doing something big as his last hurrah. I think he's taken the 1.2 billion and he's going to give it back to the people of America. We will find out, though, soon enough. He's 90, what is he, 93 or something like that? Crazy old. That's just another road to root of theory that I throw out there and do some research. A lot of research goes into this stuff. I was screaming about Buffett probably 6 years ago after studying what he did in the late 90s when he got 130 million ounces of silver, and then it was taken away from him by the bankers. They said, we're going to throw you in jail for this fraud at General Re unless you give us your 130 million ounces. So he gave it to him. The fraud, which was real, it was an insurance fraud, went away, magically went away. I was like, wait a minute. What happened to the Department of Justice and what happened to the law in America? Well, he gave us the silver, so we call it even. Buffett doesn't like the bankers. That's why he lives in Omaha, somewhere in the middle of America. Requests? Questions? Issues? We have one right here.
So, if you don't have cryptos, but you got some physical silver, you think you might be okay? You got some physical silver?
Oh, absolutely. I would rather, people ask me all the time, you can only have one. What would you take? And I love my Theta, and I love my cryptos for the future, but I know silver's been price suppressed for 170 years. I'm like, I'll let silver go crazy, then I'll sell all my silver and buy every crypto out there. The silver explosion is going to be a shot heard around the world. It will destroy banks.
Okay, so the question I have is, I've heard over and over again from you and other people, keep your assets in hand, right? The silver.
The best you can, yes.
The best you can. Okay, so I get a little confused about when you start talking about Theta and crypto and that thing, where it's just a click of the mouse and you've lost a bunch of money.
If you do something wrong.
If you do something wrong.
Yes.
I mean, everybody's newbies on crypto basically these days.
True.
Right?
Yep.
So it's like, how do you find out when you're doing something wrong? But
start small is what I tell people. You know, when you don't put your life savings into cryptos and then try to transfer them one day. Always when you're sending crypto, if you're doing anything to cryptos, start with a tiny amount. I mean, I can transfer a millionth of a cent of Theta from my phone right now if I wanted to as a test.
Okay.
Just start small and then do it a few times so that you're confident with it.
Right.
And I still send test transactions all the time because I don't want to screw up. Because I've screwed up many times in the past.
Okay, so
It's easier now than it was, though.
right. So we're thinking that the banks are all going to fail. The stock market's going to go down. Would you say silver's your favorite? Big question.
Anybody parent out there is like choosing which one of your kids you like the most?
Well, there's always one.
Yes.
Even though they're both in the
My
room.
answer,
it's okay.
Paige. My answer's Paige. Yes, I feel the safest with silver because of its past, because of the amount of suppression that goes on and how close we are to ending that suppression. Cryptos is the future, and the future is the unknown. So
how does having silver in your hand work with crypto in the future?
I have both. So the reality, silver, there's some cryptos that are trying to back cryptos with silver, and silver trying to back with cryptos so you can trade it more easily. I think it takes away from both of them. When you attach any third party to any asset, it takes away of the value of that asset.
So you don't want crypto backed by gold or silver?
I'd rather have crypto or gold or silver rather than a crypto backed by. I think third party is, like cryptos, the beauty of the good cryptos is there's no third party you have to rely on. That is not true with Theta. Theta is a technology company, first and foremost. So there will be a company back there. But Bitcoin, it's a standalone asset. You don't have to worry about, like, if you have money in a 401k or JP Morgan or stock market or bond or Fidelity or whatever, you have to worry about that company being a good custodian of your asset at all times. And most of the time, those assets are just derivatives of another asset. A stock is a derivative of a part ownership of a company, theoretically. But they've printed so many of these share certificates you don't know. With Bitcoin or silver, you know you have that standalone asset. As long as you have it in your own possession, everybody could go bankrupt. You still have that Bitcoin. You still have that ounce of silver. Now, the government can come with a gun to your front door and try to take it, and that's a different deal. That's, defend yourself type of thing. But I don't think we'll ever get to that point in the United States. Other countries will. The moment that the U.S. tries to confiscate gold again, the same thing will happen that happened in 1934. The banks gave back the gold, but none of the citizens gave back their gold. None of them. They just hid it. How hard is it to hide an ounce of gold? Or in cryptos, you can hide those real easy. I mean, you can keep a wallet in your head. You can keep seed phrase in your head to $1 billion. You'll never lose it as long as you remember your seed phrase. That's risky because if you're gone, then your $1 billion is gone at the same time. But there's ways. I think the key message for everybody is it's time to take stock of what you've done in your life, the assets you've built. I mean, we're talking about your life savings here, your life's work. And right now they're trying to inflate it to zero. And that's really scary. Especially when we know, at least I am not really on board with what my government's doing. I question myself whether I'll ever pay taxes again, knowing what they're going to do with them. It's horrific. And these people do not deserve what I worked for my whole life. And they're destroying it through printing of money, taxes, and they're just abusing it like they abuse everything else. So that's where I am.
I have one more quick question. I have a gold and silver dealer that is a friend of mine I go through, and he's wondering why U.S. minted coins are more expensive than regular coins, because silver is silver, but the Eagles are going for $13 over spot, and like quarters are going, $7 over spot.
That is a great question. I wouldn't say silver is silver, though. The U.S. Mint is a division of the United States government. It's under the Treasury. And when they make a U.S. silver dollar, if somebody tries to counterfeit that, they get nailed with the counterfeiting laws, which are much tougher than fraud. You can fake a silver 100-ounce bar and put molybdenum inside, and it's got about the same density. And if you get busted for that, you get busted for fraud. If you make a fake silver eagle, you get busted for counterfeiting, which the laws are much tougher. Now, the reason the premiums are so high is because the U.S. Mint is breaking the law. The American Eagle law, written in 1987, is that the U.S. Mint will create silver, not gold, but silver eagles in quantities to meet demand. They said that on purpose so that times like this, the American people could buy as much silver as possible and destroy the banking system. That's exactly why they said it. Right now, the U.S. Mint is not creating silver eagles to meet demand, not even close. So the premiums have gone through the roof. Silver's at like $19, but you'll pay $30 for a silver eagle when you can pay $22, $23 for like a Canadian coin or a Australian Perth Mint coin. It's part of the fraudulent government that we're living under, and they know it. The guy who was running the mint was sent away about 6 months ago, and the head of HR is now running the mint. I mean, there's something going wrong with our government on every single level, and it can be seen. But when will it break into the open? I think sooner rather than later, election time. I don't think either side is going to accept the results of the next election. This is done. I don't even think the election will happen, truthfully. I know the Democrats won't accept it. And the Republicans will say they cheated. So who's going to believe anything anymore? Scary stuff, huh? Get your own wallet. Be your own bank.